Hard to believe a jar of green beans would be the genesis for a successful baby food company, but that pretty much sums up the starting point for Baby Gourmet. Almost 7 years ago, a Calgary mother opened a jar of green beans for her baby and wondered, how could she eat it if it was something that she couldn't even stomach? So began her journey of creating a healthier, tastier line of baby food. Jennifer Carlson made her own creations, freezing them in ice cube trays, selling them at a local farmer's market. Soon mothers were buying up her creations, and when the demand outpaced supply, Jennifer knew she was onto something much bigger. In 2006, Baby Gourmet was founded. It has been on a steady and tasty trajectory ever since. I am pleased to welcome Jennifer Carlson to the Chorus Radio Network, our CEO series. Hello, Miss Carlson.
Hello.
You didn't like the look of those green beans, did you?
No, it was, I opened the jar and thought, this is really what moms have resorted to. Like, this is what's out there. This is what babies are eating. And I would never eat it myself. How could I, in good conscience, feed it to her?
So you began making your own baby food?
I did. I have always had a passion for food and for cooking, and decided from that moment that I was going to commit the time necessary to make food for her. And I started doing that and quickly realized that there's got to be more than just me out there that feels this way. This is, when you look down the baby aisle and the kind of food that's out there, you think, how could, this is all that's there. There's got to be something more that moms are looking for.
Before I find out all about Baby Gourmet, I want to find out all about Jennifer Carlson. You grew up in Calgary.
Yeah.
What kind of a kid were you?
I was a very creative kid. I was very active, very creative. I was an entrepreneur from as young as I can remember.
Before you could even say or spell entrepreneur.
People would ask me what I wanted to be, and it was entrepreneur. I had no idea what it was or how to spell it, but I knew that I wanted to start businesses.
What were some of your early business ventures?
Oh, my goodness. I made, the regular lemonade stand was the starting point, but I had this little beverage business that had a red trailer, little cart, and I would fill it with drinks, and I had a sign on it that was called Da-Da-Da Drinks, and I'd pull the cart to the soccer field and sell drinks between soccer games. And then I would play soccer as well. So as soon as there was a break, I would take my little cart around. I made perfume from scratch, and I sold it.
How do you make perfume from scratch?
You know what you do? You take water and you soak scented rocks in it, and you put yellow food coloring in it, then you pour it into your mom's empty Chanel bottles, and you sell it.
Scented rocks? Where are you getting scented rocks from? You were creative.
It was a craft. I don't know where they came from, but I'll tell you, if it was to be made, I would find. And I used to make crafts and bake. My dad helped me. I had this little business that was called Campsite Cooking, and I would make fresh baking, and my dad would drive me to campsites, and I would sell baking out of the back of his Chrysler.
Go back to the Da-Da-Da Drinks. I like that idea because it's, in fact, a twist on the lemonade stand. If the customer's not coming to you, you have to go to the customer. Well, exactly,
and that's what I found. I found with the lemonade stand, I was waiting for them, and I didn't want that. I wanted something I could take to them. And I thought with my little red wagon that I could do it with.
You were the youngest of 3 kids. Did you find that being the youngest, you had to be a little more creative, a little louder, or were you one of those last kids you were always babied anyway?
No, I think being the last, it was just my personality. I felt I had to get in there. I really needed to get in there, and if I was going to get noticed, I had to get in there.
And that was a way of getting in there, is through your entrepreneur's interest.
Yeah.
Was there anyone in those early days when you were just a young kid who you really admired, and for various reasons?
It was my Uncle Gary, so my mom's brother. He was not actively involved in my life as much as I would look at his life from the outside and think, wow, how has he accomplished that? Like he was a diamond and gold broker. And he lived all over the world. He lived in Africa, setting up credit unions. He lived in Phoenix, Arizona. He had this beautiful house in Mexico that he would fly us down to for holidays. And he just always had something interesting on the go. Every time we talked, he had some interesting business happening. And I thought, it just looked like he had a great life. I mean, it wasn't ideal, and it didn't end well, but his journey was very intriguing to me. And that was something I looked up to.
So you graduate from high school. Post-secondary, did you go to any universities, colleges?
I tried a couple. I wasn't really sure where I was to fit in because, again, when even though I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, there wasn't really anything for entrepreneurs. There was finance. There was management. There was nothing really that was about starting a business. And I ended up, taking psychology at Mount Royal. I ended up, I did get a marketing diploma at SAIT is where I went. And to be honest with you, I was not a student really growing up. I was not a scholar. The only way that I found that I learned was hands-on, getting in there, figuring it out. And I really, truly didn't do very well in school until I got to SAIT. And I was in business. And they were giving business cases. So you're basically given a business, run it, see what happens. And I excelled. And that's when I knew I kind of found my niche. And I did extremely well. Going from a C student to 3.8, 3.9 GP was good for me. But I knew that was kind of my calling.
Because you had a passion for it.
Yeah.
And I think, and maybe you can agree or disagree with me, when it comes to kids going through school and high school, it's all about the marks. And then, of course, it's all about the marks where they're going to go post-secondary.
Right.
Without being able to choose those students, which obviously would be very difficult for any post-secondary institution, to be able to choose those students who maybe just haven't discovered their passion and what they really are going to be excited about and they'll even drive further about.
That's right. And finding that passion is one thing. It's hard. It's really hard to find it, but it's hard. I think as a parent, it would be tough to take that risk and say, post-secondary is a secure route. It's very safe. It's secure. I'm not a real safe and secure person, and I'm not conventional. So in order for someone to really nurture someone that is not conventional, that really isn't, a striving student, and I didn't really find my passion of, say, baby food at the time until I was in my late 20s. I had a number of years where I was really confused and not sure what I was going to do. But it's tough.
And that's encouraging because there's a lot of kids out there that it is confusing. And parents are worried that, oh, my gosh, they're not going to do this. I don't know where they're going to end up. Did your parents at some point think, Jennifer, you've got to pick something?
They were always very supportive. I mean, I'd had a job. It wasn't that I was completely unemployed. After SAIT, I worked in oil and gas, in geophysical services, which is clearly not the right avenue for me. But that's where I ended up. And I'd had a job, and they were happy with that. I was paying bills. I was surviving on my own. They never really worried, nor did they push. They really didn't push. I think they knew that with my creativity, I'd figure it out. And I think I also sold them on the fact that, listen, this isn't my full-time gig in geophysical services, but I will one day figure out what I'm meant to do, and I'm going to be great at it. And when I find it, I'm going to do it 150%.
Would be a means to an end, definitely.
Well, and my parents bought into that, and I think they always knew that I had it in me.
Good advice for parents, because definitely parents are wondering, what are we going to do with our child? I'm Angela Kokott. You're listening to the